Lions Club of Calcutta North, District 322B1 presents the past president honor talk show with our esteemed panel. Please give them a round of applause. Today's topic is war beyond borders and how global conflicts shape our lives. And at this point, I would like to invite our chief guest, District Governor Lion Manju Chamaria, to please join us on stage. Allow me to invite the president of our club to give his welcome address, Lion Anil Saraogi.
A very good evening to all my Lion friends. Respected our District Governor, Mrs. Manju Chamaria, past District Governors, District dignitaries, our past Presidents, our esteemed panel of experts, and my fellow Lions and guests. It is indeed an honor to welcome you all to this significant evening hosted by our club, Lions Club of Calcutta North. Today's gathering serves a dual purpose, bridging a deep respect of our legacy with a sharp focus on our future. Our primary focus is the talk show, Global Conflicts Shaping Your Lives, under the theme, War Beyond Borders. We are privileged to have distinguished panel speakers, Sri Debashish Sen, Mrs. Rashmi Ghosh, Rear Admiral Subir Mukherjee, Mrs. Seema Sapru, Dr. K. Rangarajan, and Lokesh Nathani ji, to make us aware how distant geopolitical flashpoints quietly influence our everyday economies and personal choices. Alongside the vital discourse, we have the distinct pleasure of honoring our all past presidents. These leaders are the architects of our club legacy, whose dedication has enabled us to serve thousands of beneficiaries every month through our permanent projects, hospital, vocational training center, Roti on Wheels, Safari Park, and other service activities. By celebrating our history while engaging with global complexities, we aim to empower our community to remain informed and resilient in a rapidly changing world. Also extremely overwhelmed by the high spirit of our organizing team, our PP Subhashji Murarka, Secretary Niranjanji Jain, Treasurer Babulalji Botra, IPP OP Bangarji, Joint Secretary Tapan Garodia ji, who is also moderator of this talk show, and all other members involved actively to make this program a memorable one. Now, without taking more time, I am pleased to hand over the mic to our dynamic moderator Tapan Garodia for carrying forward today's program. Thank you and welcome once again for joining us this evening of dialogue and tribute. Thank you.
Thank you, President Sir, for your kind address. And now I invite our chief guest, District Governor Lion Manju Chamaria, to please address us. Lion Manju Chamaria.
President Anil ji, past district governors, our guest speakers, Lions and friends. Good evening, Namaste. दोस्तों, जो across the world ये जंग छिड़ी हुई है और उसको लेकर के आज जो इस परिचर्चा पर यहाँ हमारे स्पीकर उपस्थित हैं, इसके लिए ये बहुत ही उपयुक्त आज का दिन है और हम इसको ज़रूर हमारे जो स्पीकर्स हैं उनके साथ में मिलकर इनको समझेंगे और इसको हम सब मिलकर एंजॉय करेंगे. थैंक यू सो मच.
Thank you, Manju ji, for your lovely address. I request our Subhash ji to please felicitate Manju ji Chamaria. Niranjan ji, please. Thank you so much, President. Thank you so much, District Governor, ma'am. To help us unpack this complex and very real connection between global conflicts and personal lives, we have an exceptional panel with us today. Please give them a round of applause. My friend Lokesh is a TEDx speaker. In fact, he teaches me also how to speak. And he's a sales trainer, motivational speaker, and director, Ideal Insurance. Please give him a round of applause. My dear Rashmi Ghosh, Reshmi is an Indian television actress and former beauty queen, known for her roles in serials like Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi and Sasural Simar Ka. Please give her a round of applause. Admiral Subir Mukherjee, North Sena Medal winner. Subirda has served in the Indian Navy for 4 decades on both several frontline warships and a 3-year stint in Russia. Please give him a round of applause. Debashish Dai is former Additional Chief Secretary, Government of West Bengal, and popularly known as the father of Newtown, as the former chairman of HIDCO. Please give him a round of applause. The ever-smiling Seema Sapruji is a seasoned education leader and principal of the Heritage School. Known for her progressive approach to learning and student development, she is here today to share her views. Please welcome her. Dr. K. Rangarajan is Professor of Strategy at the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade and focuses on internationalizing medium and small enterprises in India. Please welcome him. And I am your host and host for this show, Lion Tapan Gadodia. And finally, our surprise 7th panelist, who you don't see on our flyers and in this big backdrop, is Shansha Bhai. Shansha Bhai is the great-grandson of Nawab Wajid Ali Shah of Awadh, and he is a dedicated social and green activist. He takes great interest in promoting and preserving heritage. He is also a very senior officer in the Ministry of Revenue. I don't want to elaborate more. Now, let's start with felicitation of our panelists for sparing their valuable time and to share their thoughts with us. I would like to request President Anil Saraogi to please felicitate Lokesh ji, and Lion Rekha Minda, ZC, to please felicitate Reshmi ji. Secretary Lion Niranjan Jain to please felicitate Admiral Sahab. Secretary Niranjan Ji Jain to please felicitate Admiral Sahab. Treasurer B.L. Bothra Ji to please felicitate Debashish Da. Lions Club of Femina President Lion Nisha Tatia to please felicitate Ma'am Seema Sapruji. I would like to request Lion Arvind Dagaji, our incoming president, to please felicitate Professor Rangarajan ji. And also Bangarji to please felicitate Mirza Bhai. शहंशाह भाई, if you are settled down, I would like to ask you, हम आपसे 2 महीने से गुजारिश कर रहे हैं to become a panelist. आप हमको क्यों डॉज कर रहे थे और अचानक आप यहाँ आ गए? तो हमको लगता है कि क्या आपको लायंस क्लब से डर लगता है? क्या ये टॉपिक आपके लिए कुछ ज्यादा हो गया?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Tapan Bhai. Thank you, Lions Club, for inviting me to be a part of this panel. I feel honored and privileged that I'm sitting and sharing the dais with such eminent personalities. रहा सवाल डर का, तो जब मैं स्कूल में था, we had a very beautiful Hindi teacher. एक दिन वो हम लोगों को एक स्टोरी दी लिखने के लिए, और वो स्टोरी का ओपनिंग लाइन था कि आप जंगल में जा रहे हैं, शिकार करने और अचानक आपके सामने शेर आ जाता है तो आप क्या करिएगा? तो मेरे बहुत सारे दोस्त कोई 3 पेज लिखें, कोई 4 पेज लिखें, कोई 5 पेज लिखें। मैंने सिर्फ 2 लाइन लिखा कि मैं क्या करूंगा, जो करेगा शेर करेगा। तो जब तपन भाई हमको बोले कि ये प्रोग्राम लायंस क्लब वाले ऑर्गेनाइज कर रहे हैं तो मैं सोचने लगा कि वहाँ तो सिर्फ शेर और शेरनी रहेंगे। इतने सारे शेर और शेरनी का सामना हम कैसे कर पाएंगे? लेकिन कल उन्होंने फ़ोन किया और he almost threatened me and since he has got a very strong China connection तो चाइना से सभी कोई डरता है। तो मैं भी डर गया तो मैं कहा कि ठीक है, I'll be on the panel. Thank you.
Mirza Sahab, what do you have to say about this topic?
This is a very serious topic and let's go back about 100 years back in history. The First World War took place in 1914 and about 8 to 10 million people had died. Then somewhere in around 1990, Treaty of Versailles was signed and people thought at that point of time that there will be peace in the world. But in that treaty, some very stiff conditions were imposed on Germany. And in 1939, we had the Second World War, in which about 75 to 80 million people had died. So if you see the history of last 100 years, there have been numerous wars in different parts of the world. And as we talk, Russia-Ukraine war is going on. America and Israel are attacking Iran. There's a very, very temporary and fragile truce. So the point is that war does not solve anything. Temporarily, it may alter the territory. One country may defeat another country. But in the long run, it creates numerous problems. The only solution to world peace is through diplomatic channel, through negotiations, through table talks. Unfortunately, we have some dictators in different parts of the world who think that they are the real kings of this world and they are imposing unwarranted wars on different countries. You know, when we talk about war, let's take the example of India-Pakistan. Pakistan has been foolishly acting against us. And if we talk of Siachen, which is supposed to be the world's highest battlefield, in the last 30-40 years, we have lost 869 soldiers in Siachen, and most of them have died because of the harsh weather condition. So whenever 2 or 3 countries are involved in any war, the price that one has to pay is huge. Some time back, there was this attack on Palestinians. 72,000 people had died. More than 172,000 people have been injured. You know, the entire cities and villages have been flattened. The human cost is tremendous and it lasts for generations. I feel very hurt, I feel very upset, and so much so that in the last few weeks I hardly watch television because it makes me feel very sad, it makes me depressed, seeing so many people suffering in different parts of the world. I think the time has come for organizations like Lions Club and other organizations in different parts of the world to have these type of seminar, to create public awareness, to create public opinion that we don't want war. While we were having tea, I was telling one of my relatives that it is so unfortunate that the people who decide that one country should go to war against another country do not take part in that war. And those who fight the war, they are not the one to decide that we have to fight this war against some other country. This is some of the harsh realities of life. I'm very optimistic. Inshallah, things will change. There'll be peace in this world. And let there be an end to human suffering and bloodshed. Thank you.
Very well said, Shansha Bhai. People who send us to war don't participate in the war. Very beautiful. Lokesh Bhai, can we ignore the things going around us, or what is your take on this topic?
We live in a world where a headline from a border thousands of miles away can change the price of dal in our kitchen today. We are no longer spectators of global wars. We are participants in the economic echo. When the Russia-Ukraine conflict broke out, it wasn't just about territory. It was about our sunflower oil and fertilizers. When the Red Sea became a high-risk zone, it wasn't just a naval issue or a border issue. It was a tax on every Indian exporter. Today, war is no longer localized. It is a hidden tax on global citizen. A very happy evening to all of you, and I'm very, very excited and happy to be here amidst such wonderful panels. Let me ask you this. Just try and visualize when there's a fight in your neighborhood, and I don't mean neighborhood means neighboring countries. आपके पड़ोस में अगर बाजू वाले घर पे या कहीं पे अगर लड़ाई होती है, what has been our behavior? What do? We say Why should I get into somebody else's fight? And we just kind of ignore it and we say, it's okay, it's not impacting my life. However, in today's world, I think we cannot have the same attitude, same thought process, or we can act ignorant about wars that are taking place far away from our country. Even if you don't want to participate, even if the war is not ours, but indirectly, we all are part of the wars and are impacted across all aspects of our life. War to me is not a distant geopolitical event, but an economic shock, a business risk, and a daily burden on all of us. Today, I'm going to share my views more as a citizen, somebody from India, as a consumer, somebody who's running a business, and not political views about it, because political views never ends. It's like a bottomless pit and we can speak whole night. So if you look at current global wars, they are not ours, and hence it is not in our control. But can we control our controllables? So as a consumer, we can be more mindful of our spending and consuming, learn not to react to all the fake news that goes around us and spread it. Similarly, we need to, as business owners, we need to ask ourselves, can we go back to days where we can be more efficient, whether it's our business, and can we make it more resilient? To me, resilience is the new efficiency for businesses. As we move into our panel discussion, I leave you with one thought, the 100% rule. Global volatility might be 90% not in our hands, but we must take 100% ownership of the 10% that remains. Whether it is diversifying our supply chain, protecting our cash flows, or being mindful consumer, that 10% is where the winners of the next decade will be. India is no longer just a market for the world. We are a harbor. I'm so looking forward to this discussion.
Wonderful, Lokesh. We must take charge of the 10% with 100% interest. Reshmi, as usual, you're looking charming. I know your thoughts. I mean, to jani tumhar boktobye ta, kintu can you tell us? You talk about when hatred becomes stronger than love, then we have conflicts. What would you like to say about hatred and love?
I think, hi everybody and good evening. Tapanda, thank you for giving me this opportunity to come here and hear all of them who are great panelists, so much to learn. So maybe I was Miss India, maybe I talk a lot, but when it comes to talking on serious topics, I go numb. I don't know what to say. But this is something I would like to read it out, that global conflict is not only war between countries. It begins when hatred becomes stronger than love. And one thing I follow is keep smiling, spread love. Isse zyada aur kuch nahi chahiye. But people forget. They only know they are very greedy. They only think of, they are jealous, they are greedy, and they only think of themselves generally. And that is what I've seen. I've seen people hating each other. And even if they are not showing, समझ में आ जाता है. अब हम सब बड़े हो गए हैं. हम छोटे नहीं हैं. So ये जो war which is happening, it should not happen. People should have kindness, and that is what I believe in. I'm sure all of you must be agreeing with me. Kindness is very important. Love only comes through kindness. When you are kind towards yourself, naturally you're kind towards others. That little child who is crying in front of you, if you just go ahead and you say, बच्चा बहुत रो रहा है, इसको लेकर जाओ. You can't say that. माने अगर रो रहा है and there is nobody to help that kid, your heart, your mind will say कि please go and help that child. In some way I can help that child. And why I'm saying this? Because people are forgetting to be kind. Therefore, they are only thinking about themselves. Self-love is good, if you tell me. It is good. Definitely, we should all love ourselves first and then think of others. अगर खुद से प्यार नहीं करोगे तो आप दूसरों को प्यार दे ही नहीं पाओगे. आप समझते ही नहीं हो कि प्यार क्या है. Correct me if I'm wrong. You know, these things, war, if I tell you Tapanda, I do not understand. These are all big topics, you know, like maybe we have read, we have seen so much of conflicts and disturbances and people cheating on each other. We have seen buildings falling because that person or that organization who has made that building to earn money, but that person has only thought about himself. That person did not think about all. I'm giving you just a lame example. But as a kid, I have seen all these things. So तब मुझे समझ में नहीं आता था. I never used to understand what is this happening. So after I won Miss India, or maybe during I participated in Miss India, everyone was saying कि once you win Miss India, you should talk about these things. Talk about pollution. And now कभी नहीं सोचा था कि I will be seeing war and we will be talking about war. Oh my God. ये तो history में होता था. Please grow up. Please be kind. Please show love. And that is all what I want to say. So history gives us great lessons. जैसे कि we have heard about Ashoka. After winning the Kalinga war, he walked across the battlefield and saw pain, saw death and destruction everywhere. Did he like it? No, he didn't. Though he had won the war, he felt defeated in his heart. The moment changed his life forever. So why aren't we like this? We are all humans. We all have that love and kindness. Please look for it. Through all of us, we are trying to say that. आपको पता नहीं है क्या प्यार क्या चीज है? Of course you know. You just don't want to see. Please see. Through that, you will be able to spread peace. And I am a Buddhist. Okay, I follow Buddhism. There's no spiritual path. I'm not against anything. मुझे भगवान भी पसंद है, मुझे spiritual path भी पसंद है. I love talking about love and peace and happiness. And I'm loving it. Seeing Tapan Das smiling. The first time I met him, his smile took my heart out. Wow, this person is genuine. I have to work for him or work with him. And look at all of us. We have that good smile, good heart to all of you. I'm sure you will agree. Will you not agree? Thank you. Because we should all know that वो चीज़ है हम में. Don't say नहीं आता, please you don't tell me all these things. Huh? Why? Please cater to that. जब ऐसा होगा तो अब दूसरों का you will be spreading this same message to everybody. Right? I don't know from where I'm going where, but loving
Rashmi,
it.
thank you very much. You give us a very human perspective.
Yeah,
You know,
so thank
the
you.
problem is that there is one person sitting somewhere in Washington who may be having too much of self-love.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rashmi. Admiral, can you give us a more military perspective on how a country like India gets affected by current global conflicts? And perhaps if you would like to touch upon our relationship with our neighbors.
Okay, good evening everybody. Good evening to the distinguished panelists here. Good evening, Tapan. After listening to Rashmi, it is something which I'm quite, actually I'm the only military man in this panel. And for
There
me,
are some in the audience.
Oh, there are some in the audience, okay. So, but for me, I do share your views. War is something which nobody wants. But again, like Mr. Mirza said, somebody orders it, somebody executes it, and somebody else dies for it. So, from a military standpoint, India sits at a uniquely sensitive crossroad. Geographically, strategically, and economically. Global conflicts don't stay global for India. They ripple directly into a security environment. Here's a structured analysis of how it affects us. The two-front threat which we always face, one from China and one from Pakistan. So whenever there will be a global conflict, these two people, these two nations will always do something on the LSE and the LOC. And what happens is we have to deploy additional forces, and that gives a lot of, it stretches our logistics and our readiness. It does, we are heavily dependent on import of military hardware. And whenever there is a conflict, it disrupts the supply chain. Like if you remember, we had ordered the S-400 air defense system from Russia, 5 of them. Only 3 landed because of the Russia-Ukraine war. We are still short of 2. And Russia is not able to supply it to us because of their own military industry complex, heavily busy with their war fighting. The third is the energy security and the military readiness. When the oil prices go up because of the war in the Middle East, the military runs on fuel. And if your fuel prices go up, your operational costs go up. So your sea sorties, your air sorties, your naval patrols, your tank deployments, everything gets affected. So that's something which we really get affected. Next is most important, the maritime security in the Indian Ocean region. 95% of our trade by volume comes from the sea, and about 60 to 70% by cost by sea again. So there's something called the sea lines of communication through which our merchant fleet brings in energy. Now this needs to be protected. And for this, the Indian Navy gets into a different mode, that is sea control and sea denial. And these are something which really pushes the boundaries because our ships are positioned and deployed at various parts of the Indian Ocean region, and that is a constraint for all of us in the armed forces. Next is the cyber and the space warfare. War is no longer kinetic, it has become hybrid now. So there are so many ways somebody can affect you: your military networks, your satellites, your communication networks, your power grids. If you remember, about a couple of years back, the complete Bombay local had shut down for an hour, and on investigation it was found that it was done from somewhere in China. So it is possible that our complete life will come to a standstill if we don't know how to protect ourselves. GPS disruption, we are using Google Map every day, okay? If there is a war and if India gets into it, or if India is part of it, the GPS will definitely be taken away by the US. So of course we have our Navik, which we use it in the military, and I'm sure it is used for the civilians also. Border instability, proxy warfare. Pakistan is known for pushing infiltrators during these times. There are a lot of sleeper cells in our country. Everything will get activated. And suddenly you will see a large number of mischief which is happening. Fortunately, we have a very good intelligence system which has been working for the last 10 to 12 years. And let me tell you, whatever has happened in the last 1 or 2 years, it's 1 out of 100. That one slips in. You can't make it a zero protection where you will never have a terror attack. Nuclear escalation risk is another thing. Since we are all three nuclear neighbors, any trigger-happy idiot sitting on the other side of the fence, if he even uses a tactical nuclear weapon, we don't have a control over the escalation matrix after that. Because we are a no first use country, that's our policy. But in case somebody hits us with a nuclear weapon, we will ensure that that country doesn't have a second strike capability. And the most important, and I think the thing is that we have something we follow, a strategic autonomy. And that is that we decide what is our foreign policy. We don't have alliances. We are not a slave to anybody for giving us a diktat that you do this and do that. So that strategic autonomy pressure will definitely come at some point of time whenever there is a conflict. If you remember during the Russia-Ukraine war, I don't know how many of you remember, Foreign Minister Jaishankar was asked, why are you sitting on the fence? He said, no, I'm not sitting on the fence, I'm standing on my ground. So I mean, that is what is going to be the pressure from everybody, that take sides, be on one side. But India has never done that, and I think in the future also will not do it. Coming to our neighbors very shortly, we are in a very hostile neighborhood. Trust me, it is just not Pakistan and China. It is across everywhere. Bangladesh is hostile, Nepal is hostile, so is Sri Lanka, so is Maldives. We have handled them in a very, very mature manner, being the big brother, and we always looked into the neighborhood first, which is our foreign policy. And I think India has been doing a very good job. It all depends on how things unfold in the next 10 years. Thank you.
Lovely, Admiral. You send a chill down my spine. But I heard that the next conflict can actually happen in the Strait of Malacca. And the biggest warship that we might actually have may be the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the indestructible warship. Since you're a Navy man, I thought I'll ask you.
Check. Okay, I'll quickly say that the Straits of Malacca is a choke point. You've been hearing of Straits of Hormuz. Iran has choked that. Now, 90% of China's oil passes through the Straits of Malacca, and and China is heavily dependent on energy. Their complete economy is dependent on the energy. So, the Malacca dilemma, which was the Chinese themselves described in 2002, 2003. So they know that that is the place where India can actually choke them. So the Andaman and Nicobar Island, we are having the Nicobar project. We are having minister of ours who's been in that island and giving us some tweets. But let me tell you, those islands are very strategically located. They are exactly where what Tapan was saying, they are our unsinkable aircraft carriers. We don't require aircraft carriers because if we have an air base there and we can put our fighter jets and our surveillance, maritime surveillance aircrafts, I don't think so anybody can pass that Straits of Malacca very easily. And for them, if they have to bypass Malacca, they have to spend a lot of money, like Sunda and Lombok. But those are pretty far off, and they have to travel another close to about 5,000 nautical miles. So the prices of oil will definitely go up for China. So for China, it's a choke point. For us, it's a very, very strategic asset.
It's a big strategic opportunity for us. Thank you, Admiral. Please give him a round of applause. And Debashish Da, Admiral has given us an interesting perspective. Don't you agree?
Thank you. Indeed, Admiral has given me a very good perspective. He has already brought the world around India, Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan. I'll pull it further. Our world today stops tomorrow. Tomorrow, what's going to happen in Kolkata and Bangla? कौन आ रहा है? अरे ग्लोबल की होच्छे वो तो देख लेंगे, लेकिन कल क्या होगा, कौन आएगा? So that is the world. So before I get into the topic, I'll just also say that in today's Telegraph in the edit page, my article on a deep state for technology has come in. If you find time, please go home and read it. I'll be happy to know your reactions. This concept of deep state which Admiral brought about is about cyber security. You take global war as the moderator said, it's only LPG gases. Or somebody said it's only diversification of supply chain. Or as Lady Ghosh said, I mean, love is not going to hit it. If you have a mad person controlling the world, how much you love him and hug him, even Epstein could not control him. What will you do with him? So love is not going to work. You have to look after yourself. On a slightly serious note, I will take you back just 2 months. History back, not like Hamara Mirza ji who took us to the days of 1400. I'll take you only 2 months back, 28 February this year. What happened? What happened was that all the traffic CCTVs that we have in Iran, in Tehran, these were all captured by Israel. And these were taken in to pinpoint where the bodyguards of Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, was moving around. And along with artificial intelligence and human intelligence, they pinpointed the location of the supreme leader with 14 digits of latitude. You know latitude, 23 geography lesson आपने पढ़ा होगा, हम तो भूल गया. 23 degrees north and 19 degrees south or something.
With
4
minutes.
digits तक तो हम जानते हैं.
Degree and minutes.
हाँ, degrees and minutes, seconds भी आता है. तो at best से 6 digits. ये 14 digit का accuracy से where this Khamenei is sitting, they found out and they killed him. You are not safe. When after Admiral Mukherjee talked about Pakistan war, when they had this negotiation in Pakistan, the leaders from Iran were afraid to come back. Kyun? Because they are coming back in a plane and they know they are tracking and they could have killed in the air. So they came by road and train. So such is the affair of the global affairs. But I want to take you that this CCTV camera that I spoke of, you also have a CCTV camera in your home. How global conflict affects you. Your CCTV, the street CCTV, you know, that puts a daily challan in your internet and you have to pay this much, which none of us do because these days they send us to take to court. Kintu aaj obdi kyun court hai jayni, so we also ignore that. Only you will get some notices, there you have some challans pending against you, but the point is CCTVs are there. And you have CCTVs in your home also. But these are very, very dangerous weapons. People who want to control you can take their coordinates and locate what's happening in your home. So I will not give a long lecture about talking about the topic, how global conflict affects you. I just tried to demonstrate that from CCTV feed, Ayatollah Khomeini was killed. From CCTV feed, if you don't want to be hurt, do one thing, promise one thing. All your routers and CCTVs and Wi-Fi that you have in your home through which you see your Netflix has got a password and username. Inevitably, it is admin, password is admin. And everybody knows there is software available in the world where your house, everything can be visible to whoever wants to be. I can show you how to do it. So first thing, please promise me, please ask your tech guy, whoever installed it, to change the password immediately. You are vulnerable. Don't connect to the internet. Your Wi-Fi is okay, but your CCTV should not be connected to the internet or the storage kept in the cloud drive. It is very, very vulnerable. Keep it in a hard disk, keep it in a small magic strip, and you will be much safer. Sometimes we want to have mobile feeds, you know, whether the children have gone home or something. Even then, don't use internet. You try, if you have to take a feed to your mobile, try to get a VPN, that we say, private virtual network. If you take a VPN connection, it's less likely that your feed will be stolen away. And do not, please check the make of the camera. If the camera is Hikvision, which is very, very popular, if anybody of you know, Hikvision is a very popular camera. but it is banned in US, it is Chinese made and they use Chinese servers. Do you want Chinese people looking at your home every day? Please don't. Change the camera. Change the camera. It's for your good, it's for my good. Last piece of advice from Ayatollah Khomeini's death in a global conflict that hurts us. That please turn your camera angle so as not to capture the public view as much as possible. This is not for you, but if you show it to a car passing by, if that is also extracted, the powers that we are observing and it can be used to violate the privacy of others, I am sure you don't want it. You want only yourself. So focus it on your door, your garage, your front entrance, but not to the public road. It is not proper. Others will get advantage of it. So I will just say that global conflict in Iran has come to your door. Your CCTVs can be targeted by evil people. We know of digital arrest, but soon you will have these kinds of other threats also. Act for it. Late, the global war has shown us that the war is now in our rooms. We must try and prevent it as best as we can. Change the password and connect to internet. Thank you.
Tapan, I just want to add one thing which Debashish brought out. It has just been confirmed about a week back that during Operation Sindoor, 70% of our CCTV cameras located in India and across the country are Chinese made. And all our troop movements were monitored by the Chinese during the operation. So right now the government of India has issued that all these cameras are to be changed immediately and they are to be made Indian made. So it's a very valid point.
Shubhita, very valid point, and this is something we can immediately take action. So very practical. Seema ma'am, when the world outside is divided, do educational institutions have a responsibility to be the place where we practice the difficult conversations the rest of the world is failing to have?
So thank you for asking me a question related to education. I was so scared. I said if they'll ask me where the state of Hormuz is, I wouldn't know. And then they've shown such a grim picture of the entire world. I'm feeling very scared, but let me tell you, the schools are a very, very safe place. And whatever happens across the world, I can tell you, we still have hope. So what we do in the school is, remember, if you want children to not be aware of these things, so forget about it. Because children, the first thing they do is they get up in the morning, either their parents or they themselves, they pick up the phone and they see that there's so many wars happening and that Iran is getting bombarded by Israel or by the US, something or the other, they know everything. So if you think you can keep this conversation out of the classroom, not possible. And why should we not talk about these things with our children? The question is, our children, why do we want them to be, kept away from reality? It's a fact. Wars are happening and children, you need to know, you not children. Sorry, I become a teacher all the time. So children need to know that they have to keep themselves safe. So what we do in our school is, and I would suggest that if there are children here or there are teachers here or anybody associated with the school, we have a club called Tough Talk, where we talk about just about everything. And these are taboo topics which children wouldn't generally talk about, discuss with their parents or with their friends. In any case, these kind of things should be handled very sensitive, with a lot of sensitivity. So what happens is, there are counseling psychologists, there are career counselors, there are psychology teachers, there are social studies teachers, there are history teachers, and there are experts in science. All of us sit together, children talk about it, and we have a duty that we give them the pros and cons of everything and tell them that, look children, this is what is right. So if they are in the echo chambers, all of us are, and children particularly are, because they are at that, I hope I'm not becoming too much of a, are you people being able to understand, or am I just carrying on with it?
We are with you, ma'am.
Chale. Acha. So I was saying that they have to be pulled out of the chambers, and then what happens is, have to understand there is manipulated data, how to sift information and make sure that whatever they believe has a historical or a scientific evidence to it. Now, how do we do that? Because these children have to reason out, they have to have a logic behind everything. You have to question and you have to allow these children to question. Only then will you be able to make this young generation resilient who will know, that this is not how people are going to treat us. It is extremely sad that school is one place where everybody thinks that, it's the safest place for everyone. International laws don't allow any unethical or any, illegal activity to happen. But what is happening? Terrorists stay in schools. Bombs are kept in schools. And schools are bombarded. We saw it in Iran recently, how the poor children were killed, and it was a girls' school, nothing. 180 girls, it's not about girls or boys, children are children. So, you as parents or as grandparents, please realize that there is nothing that we can do about this war. The only thing that we can do is, you send everybody to heritage school. Send everybody to heritage. We'll have this tough talk with them and we'll tell them, no, we don't have a place, we don't have a vacancy, sorry. So, no, but what I'm saying is the other schools don't talk about it. Let's talk about it openly and say, well, this is right, this is wrong. Why can't we do it? So this is where I come from, and I feel when a school education, when you can't provide them in a safe place, when parents are scared to send them there, what are we going to do to that country? How do we prepare our children? So the only thing is, the hope is only our young generation, and I can assure you we can do a lot with them. These children are absolutely brilliant. They're very good kids. I don't know why people feel this generation, they have no, values, no nothing. It is us who give them values. If we are not exemplifying what we want them to do, well then, that's how children are going to be. So, sorry, but I behave like a teacher all the time. So you're not my students. You're free to say anything that I've been talking about. You can free to question me if I say something wrong. But well, yes, there is hope. There is hope, and our children in the next, I'm sure in the next century, there will be no war if we keep talking to our children about this. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a lot of positivity you bring into the room.
আমি একটা কথা বলি, because I loved I don't understand all these hard talks. আমি simple কথা বুঝি, and the way Seemaji spoke, I wish I could have been a part of your school. I love my school, that's a different thing. But
back to school.
What I'm saying is, I just said that I'm a Buddhist, like I practice Buddhism. Whether Buddhism or any other practice, it clearly teaches shared dialogue over destruction. So these good dialogues, they change. And we are talking about children here, talking about all of us. That change, talk about dialogues, means choose dialogue over destruction, understanding over anger, and unity over division. And this is what I have learned, and I'm teaching, and I'm hearing it now that you spoke, Seemaji. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes.
Collaboration over competition.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct.
Collaboration over competition. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Professor Rangarajanji, how are you? How's life? I'm running out of questions.
I'm fine, Tapanda, and if you ask life के बारे में मत पूछो, क्योंकि 4 साल पहले हम सोचते थे कि भाई ये महाभारत पढ़ते थे तो मामा हमको खराब लगता था, क्योंकि आपको पता ही है महाभारत हुआ ही मामा से, है ना। तो 4 साल पहले कि मैं वार से बारे में कोई ज़्यादा चिंता नहीं करता था कि भाई हम मामा से डरते थे। वो मामा कौन है? मीटा, अल्फ़ाबेट, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट, अमेज़ॉन, दिस मामा। क्योंकि मेरे बीवी का नंबर भी मुझे नहीं पता है, पहले तो हम लोग सारा याद रखते थे। बाकी आई एम नॉट सेइंग अबाउट यू, यू मे बी रिमेंबरिंग द अदर, मैं बीवी है कोई ज़्यादा चिंता नहीं करेगी। तो वो मोबाइल में दिखता था, नाउ एवरीथिंग इज OTP। आई यूज्ड टू वरी कि यार क्या होगा, मान लो कल सत्या नाडेला और ये सुंदर पिच्चई दोनों निकल जाए, कुछ हो जाए गूगल में, मैं तो गया क्योंकि एवरीथिंग इज डिजिटलाइज्ड। ये तो 4 साल पहले की हो रही थी। आई वॉज नॉट थिंकिंग अबाउट वॉर एंड ऑल। आई वॉज वेरी हैप्पी क्योंकि आई नेवर वांटेड टू बी आउट ऑफ दिस कंट्री। व्हेन आई गॉट एन अपॉर्चुनिटी आल्सो आई केम बैक क्योंकि सबसे सेफ देश है इंडिया। ऑस्ट्रेलिया में हम थे, भाग के आ गए 1 साल में। यार पता नहीं क्या होगा। बट नाउ इफ यू लुक एट the war, it has further intensified this. जब देवजी जब बोल रहे थे कि about digital camera, see I'm going beyond even that. See, it's not only about camera and all. Couple of years back, you might have been aware that when US, my great friend Trump, when he was reciprocating with China, the way in which he was doing things, and there was a complete digital invasion which he was trying to do. Of course, China was good, they retaliated. In this war, this happens. What is going to be our situation? मैं एक प्रोफेसर जैसे सोच ही नहीं पाता हूँ आजकल। एक कॉमन मैन जैसे ही सोचना पड़ता है, यार कल तो मैं सड़क पे आ जाऊंगा। And the way in which things are happening is really disturbing. मैडम कह रही थी let us be positive and yeah, we need to be positive. We need to love people. All these things are fine, but let us also look at the realities, what is happening around, and take precautions for that. That is one of the things. So, Tapanda, यही मेरा हाल है अभी. And the surprising thing is, Admiral was also talking about, and here, Shahanshah ji भी बोल रहे थे कि couple of 4 or 5 people, they go mad, and the whole world is going mad. Now, I don't even understand. पहले हम लोग क्या करते थे, अच्छा देखो कि भाई कलकत्ता में बंद हुआ है, देखना हावड़ा में कुछ हादसा हो गया तो तुरंत न्यूज़ देखते थे। And we believe that also. अब तो न्यूज़ देखने में भी मुझे खराब लग रहा है क्योंकि सुबह ट्रंप ने बोला सीज फायर, नीचे हेडलाइन जा रहा है ही इज प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर द नेक्स्ट अटैक। यार क्या पागलपन है भाई, व्हाट इज हैपनिंग? आर यू किडिंग मी? Whom should I blame? And कुछ लोगों के बारे में हम जानते नहीं थे। जेलेंस्की आप लोग जानते हो? हाँ जानते हैं ना सब। If Ukraine was not hit by Russia, जिंदगी भर आप जेलेंस्की को कभी नहीं जानते। अब देखो वार ने कितना अपना नॉलेज बढ़ा दिया। यू नो यूक्रेन कीव है, कीव करके कुछ है ना, बार बार दिखाते थे। एंड just because of these couple of people, we are unable to, they are jolting the world. But the silver lining is being a big country, being people with certain values and cultures, we are able to survive. आप हमारा पड़ोसी को देख लीजिए, बांग्लादेश को देखो, नेपाल को देखो, श्रीलंका को देखिए, पाकिस्तान तो है ही पैदाइशी। But ये श्रीलंका तो I was never expecting that Rajapaksa was doing this kind of a thing and then overnight everything goes wrong. In Nepal you have seen, in Bangladesh you have seen. At least we are safe. From that point of view, that safety is in spite of all isms, whatever we have. पहले तो हम सोचते थे अच्छा communism is more and more about all working for people, capitalism is more supporting. अरे आजकल गया ism छोड़ो, selfism. बाकी कोई इज़म नहीं काम कर रहा है। They don't have any kind of these kind of thinking. If that would have been there, do you think that the way in which, like he said, there's no point in watching TV news? मैं एक्सेप्शन बोल दे रहा हूँ कि भाई नहीं तो मेरी बीवी टीवी बंद कर देगी because for every time I open TV न्यूज़ चलता ही रहता है। She used to ask me सुबह जो न्यूज़ आया वही है। I used to tell her I am just betting the news कि भाई कितना सही है कितना गलत है। You open the TV, you find that everywhere there are problems. The thing is, yes, if this way it is going to happen and we are still going to tolerate people like Donald Trump, things will go bad to worse. क्योंकि कल जैसे ये सड़क पे 10 रुपए का चाय मिल रहा था, पूछ रहे थे how are you, 10 रुपए का चाय मिला परसों, आज जो है 25 रुपए कर दिया। मैंने पूछा था क्यों क्या हो गया? सर वो कमर्शियल सिलेंडर का ना दाम बढ़ा दिया। और जो है कि इडली का दाम जो है कि भाई 100% बढ़ा दिया। These are the things what the poor take. मैं हो सकता हूँ कि भाई पिज्जा खा के झीलों में अंग्रेज बन गया हूँ। Look at our common man, they are living by tea और चाय और बिस्किट और यही खा रहे हैं कि भाई I'm not getting into the great concepts of अच्छा supply chain disturb हो, global value chain हो, production network ऐसी हो गई। छोड़िए भाई, my rickshaw fellow is in trouble. It's going to be there. Let us accept that as a truth, and the government is trying to do. In fact, if you compare, are we better? Yes, I will say we are better. Compared to the other sufferings of the other people across the world. वहाँ तक जो है कि भाई हम शुक्रगुजार हैं कि भाई ऊपर वाले की कि भाई इतना तो तुमने ठीक रखा है मुझे। But if the things are going to continue, it is going to be worse. Be prepared for the worst. क्या है कि भाई देखिए गैस नहीं आया कि भाई चल let us go back and start, चूल्हा जलाना शुरू कर दे, है ना, लकड़ी से कि भाई जलाए, क्या करें भाई, जिंदा तो रहना ही है. And your sustainability, ESG, etc. will go for a 6. When these people are making the seabed like anything and they are just killing all those bombing जो हो रहा है, हर एक bombing में कि भाई कितना sustainability issues are going to be, and they are talking about SDG and what not. And he is now, Trump is talking happily about, no, now I am going to oppose NATO. सबसे बेस्ट तो ये तो साहब कि भाई वेनेजुला से कि भाई उसने कि भाई ऐसे कर रहे हैं कि भाई ऐसा तो महाराजाओं के टाइम पे भी नहीं होता था कि भाई मैंने देश में जाके उठा के ले आया बंदे को. आप लोग टीवी में देखते रह गए यार, ये प्रेसिडेंट वेनेजुला था कल, आज जो है कि उसकी जेल में पड़ा है. अभी भी घोषणा कर रहा है फॉकलैंड्स ले लूंगा और ग्रीनलैंड ले लूंगा, पता नहीं कि भाई इंडिया ले लूंगा, कह दो देखते हैं फिर. So the thing is, I'm just coming to a serious part of it is कि now we have to be aware and alert and then try to strengthen ourselves to face all these things. The digital part, what he said, yes, let us come out with our own Indian systems, evolve, let us evolve again. That is the only thing. We had Aryabhattas and whatnot. Everyone was there. We were the people who were telling about all these things. So let us come back to this and then try to do. मैंने इसलिए बोला था तपंदा. He was asking me कि अच्छा कितना टाइम बोलोगे. मैंने कहा यार मैं प्रोफेसर आदमी हूँ, बोलने के लिए ही खाता हूँ. तो आप डिसाइड कर लो करना क्या है.
आपसे ज्यादा
थैंक यू.
मुझे सीमा जी ने कहा था कि आप मुझे बता दो कि कितने घंटे बोलना है.
मैं हर जगह यही बोलता हूँ, मैं प्रोफेसर आदमी हूँ,
दो educationalists, sitting next to each other, 2-3 minutes is not enough.
Thank you,
sir. Thank you for that insight.
Thank you.
And from here on, because one of my jobs as a moderator is also to take control of the time. So from here we'll be very crisp. From the non-aligned movement, if you remember in the days of Nehruji, Jaishankar's multilateral engagements, we have come a long way. But are we doing enough, Admiral Saab?
Yeah, I'll be crisp. Okay, so we have been non-aligned right from the Nehruvian days, and thank God we are non-aligned because we are not in anybody's camp. So is this policy outdated? I don't think so. I think it is evolving and it continues to serve us well, but only if we adapt it to the present realities. Historically, non-alignment allowed India to stay independent of power blocks during the Cold War. Today, that philosophy has transformed into a more pragmatic approach, engaging all major powers based on shared interests rather than fixed alliances. This has given India a very unique advantage. Just consider this. India maintains a strong ties with the United States for technology and defense, continues its long-standing partnership with Russia, and buys oil in spite of everybody sanctioning him, engages Iran for energy security. Our ships are passing through Hormuz because we are in touch with Iran. And at the same time, we are in deep cooperation with Israel in innovation and security. Very few nations today can actually navigate such diverse relationship without being constrained by alliances. But this flexibility has elevated India standing globally, though through platforms like G20, BRICS. India is no longer just a participant, it is emerging as a voice of the global south, a bridge between competing worlds. However, there is something which is very important. We cannot be standing and watching. We have to take part, we have to decide, we have to lead, and we have to act.
So I just beg to differ with you. Here, when he's talking about non-aligned movement, please realize that there is multilateral alignment happening today. However, whatever with due respect to sir, it sounds very theoretical. Actually, when you come on the ground, we as an educational institution, if we have to have an international kind of a educational exchange, people cannot look at a brown-skinned person and want the brown-skinned person to go and visit their country. So everybody, if you go to European countries, UK, US, Australia, they'll tell you, well, yes, we have exchanges amongst ourselves. We don't come to India. And Indians are more than willing to run to them. So you see, what is happening is we're talking about this non-aligned movement. Look at the normal people like us. We can't even stand a person who is of different race, different caste, different color, and we're talking about non-aligned movement. So this sounds very, very theoretical. One more thing, sir, you were talking about BRICS. So ASEAN is there. I don't know how you pronounce it. Is it ASEAN? ASEAN. So ASEAN, we're not there. Why can't we, sir was talking about it, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, India. Why can't we join hands, Bhutan? And why can't we make something like this, like ASEAN? Why can't we do it? I mean, we've been only talking about theory. In practical, we do nothing. We only have learned to hate everybody. And in the films, all films, you have to beat everybody who's from any neighboring country. Beat them up. Turn them into pulp.
You have stirred a question which is, I think, of interest to everyone. My only suggestion, hearing both Admiral and Madam, is opportunistically be non-aligned. Right, that is the way by which you may be able to gain. And Madam, as you said, we already have a SARC, which is non-functional. Because it's non-functional mainly because everyone is more interested in their own self-interest. So that is why it has not happened. But you are right when you talk about non-alignment, it is almost becoming defunct because regional blocks have emerged and everyone is now trying to, this is happening post-COVID also. Right, that is how things have happened. Just without taking.
So what I'm hearing is that we have not done enough. Is that we have to do much more?
See, it's not only we what we do, others also do. It's also about what others do. And India should take yes.
India should take the lead.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I agree with Ji. See, strategic autonomy doesn't happen on its own. There are a lot of things which are happening backdoor, which we are not aware. Something which has to be backed by strength. I still remember that beautiful this thing by Tulsidas, Bhai bin hoye na preet. Unless you can make a person fear of yourself, he will not be your friend. You got to understand that. So whenever we are talking about strategic autonomy, I'm not saying you got to be sitting and doing nothing. You have to prepare yourself, make yourself strong, both economically and militarily, and thereafter take the lead wherever it is required to be. But there is no point fighting somebody else's war. Right. We have seen IPKF. When we put our forces in Sri Lanka, we got smashed. We lost close to about 800 people. Was it worth it? It was not worth it. So we will not fight somebody else's war. We will fight our own wars, and we will fight it at the time when we want to fight it. That's my only message.
Sir, war or conflicts are only an outcome, isn't it? In fact, it's created as economies try to create their own power. Isn't it? Devashish, how will it affect a normal person like you and me?
The first thing I'll go back to is what you started with is about LPG, energy security. India cannot lead the world, that is being discussed, if you are continuously dependent on the Hormuz Strait and Iran and Oman and everybody. We don't have enough LPG.
Thank you.
So what is the alternative? We go nuclear, we go to solar and renewable. We have to be self-sufficient if you want to lead the world. Sustainable development, energy efficiency and energy independence. This is where the world is leading to. We must go there.
See, the size of country that we are today, it's very easy to say this, that why are we not self-sufficient? Why are we, I keep hearing where opposition says that, why did we not emphasize this war 2 months back or 6 months back? Why we were not prepared? My question is that if, it's always, post the event is always very easy to comment. My question is those who are raising the doubts that why was the government not prepared well in advance when the signs of the war were there? How many people in the opposition or around us actually started to raise a red flag saying that there is going to be a war, we can see the signs around us, what are we doing about our energy structure? People did not do that. Only when the event has happened now, and because we all are suffering, and it is absolutely a well-known fact. Are we better than before? I personally feel so. I personally feel that our government, and again, I'm not trying to speak for anybody, but I personally feel as a citizen, I think given the circumstances that are around us, it is not our war and we have done extremely well. Like take for example, I'm sure you'll remember 2022, Europe was shivering in winter because they had low energy, yes. Right? But we said that we are not going to align with anybody. The world has become very transactional at a global level. So we said we are importing from Russia and we save a lot of energy costs. The whole world was saying, especially the Western world was saying that we are fueling that war. And the irony was that the same people were buying from India knowing very well that the oil was coming from Russia. So I personally feel that given the circumstances, we have done very well as a country and we need to look at from a relative perspective. If you only look in, obviously things are not good. No, there's no doubt about it. But if we keep saying in isolation without seeing what's happening around the world and other countries, how well have we dealt with it, I think then certainly the picture will look much better than rather than isolation is what my point is.
Yeah. I'll just add one thing. Admiral Mukherjee will agree with me.
He will never agree.
He
will not agree.
No, he will agree. I can assure you that. I'm talking good things about the military. So that is that every day almost they have a strategic think tank meet. Every weekend the senior officer has to say, if this happens, what do what? So my question, it's not a question of after Iran was attacked by Israel or something. You should have understood that all these think tanks that we have, they should have understood that India is most vulnerable in its energy security point of view. Why didn't they do anything? That is why my argument is, don't depend on the politicians, have a deep state. Have a deep state.
If I can just, you've been a bureaucrat, sir, so you'll know it well. But I think I agree with Admiral, sir, that there's so much of work happening behind the scenes that we as common citizen, we don't know. We only listen to what we hear in the media. But I'm 100% sure about it, that there's a lot of work happens behind the scene. And as he gave an example of attack, that if one attack happens, hundreds are, have been stopped. And I think similarly, when it comes to everything, strategically or otherwise, there is enough happening behind the scenes.
Admiral, do you agree that we need to have a deep state?
No, I don't, because...
Sir, he's not agreeing.
Sorry, but who said we don't have a deep state?
Yeah, we do have a deep state, of course.
That's my question.
I mean, we
also
deny
have our own
it.
deep state
We
in our
deny
own
it. Yeah, we deny it.
We do have.
We do have it. I'm sure there's a deep state working.
Okay. So that brings us, see, I can see a lot of people very curious to ask questions. So in the next 5 minutes, we'll wrap up and bring in, yes, sir, we'll go and come to questions, Ashok Bhai. But humans by nature are always in conflict, isn't it? Micro or macro. Ghar se aap expand karo up to Washington, right? The longest peace in the world was, of course, when I was growing up. I grew up thinking that now there'll be no wars. World War II happened in 1945. I was born in 69 until 1990 almost, when I passed school from La Martiniere. I didn't see any war till the Gulf War, okay? But today, then we saw 9/11 and so much. So the question, central topic I want to discuss is, how does India, and more importantly, Indians prepare themselves for the next 2 decades? Because, PM Modi is talking about Viksit Bharat by 2047. So, anybody wants to come in? Anybody free for all?
Bartan hai to khankenge hi. Right? Bartan hai to khankenge. So, human nature is, because everybody is wanting more than what they have. So, there'll always be this thing. But I personally feel that as a country, we need to be prepared. I don't think, the war is going to be part of life now. I personally feel, so globally, I don't mean India. Globally, wars are going to be part of our life, whether we like it or not, some country or the other, because once it is started, it's going to go for a while till everybody is acquiring or want to acquire what they want to acquire. So I think we need to be mentally be prepared. And I'm sure in times to come, various governments, current or future, they're going to work towards it. This is the reality of life, and we need to work towards it, is what I feel.
I'll only support Madam Sapru in saying that collaboration. You may fight for the small thing. We have to collaborate. The world is too complex to solve any problem. My favorite author, Yasser Arafat, who wrote Homo Deus and all, he says mankind is today what it is because of storytelling. We believe in the same God. We believe in the same country. We collaborate with each other. That is the way to success. We must collaborate, fight.
We must collaborate, Shansha Bhai, not fight.
I'll make 2 points over here.
Very crisp, please. Very crisp. 1 point, not 2.
No, please allow me 2 points. We spend about 15% of our annual budget on defense, which comes to about 7.85 lakh crore. It is necessary because we have some very hostile neighbors. But I often think that, if things would have been better with our neighbors, we could have saved so much of this money and spent on infrastructure, housing, education, safe drinking water. Because of my job, I travel the length and breadth of this country. There are many places in India where getting a bottle of safe drinking water is sheer luxury. So that money could have been spent on building a strong India. The second point I want to make, Donald Trump doesn't know what he talks. On the other hand, I would like to recall an incident which involves Atal Bihari Vajpayee Sahab. When he was the Prime Minister of this country, he had gone to Pakistan in a bus. And when he entered Pakistan, Wagah, he was being received by Nawaz Sharif, who was the Prime Minister of Pakistan. So when the bus finally reached Wagah, Nawaz Sharif came to the bus to meet Vajpayee Sahab. And after they shook hands and embraced each other, Vajpayee Sahab told Nawaz Sharif that aakhir aap mere bus mein aa hi gaye. So he had that sense of humor. And on the other hand, you see a man like Donald Trump, who's the president, second-time president of a country like United States of America. And as Sir had rightly pointed out that in the morning he says that, I'm going for ceasefire. And on the TV screen, the runner says that, Trump is preparing for another attack on Iran. So he doesn't know what he's talking. It's very, very unfortunate that we are living in a time when we have such crazy people.
In fact, I must appreciate, somebody in the audience is sending me a text message saying that the topic of the next talk show should be how should we stop wars. Very, very imaginative of you.
Over last 100 years, if you look globally in terms of wars, I think barring few situations here and there, if you look at currently, there are about 30 heads of states across the world who are women. And you will find that 90% plus wars were never started by when women were head of state. So I personally feel that if you really want to change this mindset of acquisition, control, start having, intellectual women or women who understand this as head of states.
Thank you. All of you. Wonderful. With that, are there any questions?
Yeah.
Okay, Bangar Saab.
Yeah. Thank you, moderator. Nice discussions. Look, my question to the panel is that are we heading towards the third world war? We have seen 2 world wars. Are we heading towards that? And next thing, Lions movement was instrumental in signing UNO agreement. It was one of the signatory to peacemaking for the world war ending. In 1945, when the UNO was set up, our Lions International was one of the signatories. Many of our audience may not know about that, so that is just for the information. So my question is that, are we heading towards World War III? We have seen COVID, that was not less than a world war.
Are we heading for World War III?
Sir,
Who would like to answer that? I think we...
Sir, can I answer? So we are supposed to be living in a VUCA world. VUCA is volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous. And I think nobody knows what is going to happen tomorrow. So nobody can predict whether there's going to be a world war.
I can just say one thing. It will not be a typical world war like we had in the first and second. First and 2 world wars, we didn't have the nuclear weapons. So with the nuclear weapons, I don't think so it's going to be all global conflict, but it will be proxy wars. There will be polar poles, and these big poles will be making some of the people fight. So it's going to be what is happening across right now. So that is what is
my view. I don't think there will be a third world war because the overall, if you look into the current scenario, everyone is trying to isolate US. Right, Europe is totally now there. That is why he is talking about NATO, etc. Right, so it's not going to be there. If at all there is going to be anything, now wait for a different kind of a war, which will be through humanoids.
See, Pakistan is taking the center stage, doing all the General Munir is doing everything. How long will India just bite its nails? It has to come. But I agree with him that wars will not be like what it used to be. Look at Ukraine war. For the last 4 years, कुछ war चल ही रहा है. ऐसा ही war होगा. Cyber war, sporadic war, targeted war, but not like a whole lot of infantrymen. One person was captured by Iran, and Trump was, kind of jumping around. Usko वापस लाना है. Not one person will die by the soldiers. So all air.
Seema ji, you spoke about VUCA world, which was during COVID. A lot of people spoke about it. That word has been replaced now. It's a DT world, Donald Trump world. Donald Trump world, not VUCA world anymore.
Pangaji, I think we have answered your question. Now, next question. Ashok ji.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. 100%. We are coming. We have enough time.
Good evening, all the panelists. My question is, suppose let us hope for the best and war stops tomorrow morning. So what will be the side effect of the war in terms of environmental as well as economical? And how long it will take to vanish all the side effects?
So I would request you to please ask your question to a specific panelist.
I'm asking to Dr. Rangarajan.
Rangarajan sir.
But I have a quick interjection to make, if you allow. That is that General Munir has said that he will send an aircraft and bomb Kolkata. Don't forget that.
Yes, Rangarajan sir.
This is what I was also highlighting. The environmental destructions will be there. Because when there is a war, you still remember Chernobyl, right? In their own kind of the environment, whatever has happened over there, And similarly, currently also the oil slick and when they are bombing in the sea, etc., naturally we are going to lose. And the climate change impact will be further increasing. This is what is going to happen.
Thank you. Thank you. Ashok Mehta ji, your question?
Thank you, moderator. My question, I'm referring to the moderator, you can direct to any of the speaker. We have heard a lot about the global conflicts that are fought between the armies on the border with the might of the armies. But new war has started erupting in last couple of years. That is the trade and tariff war. The trade and tariff war that affects much more than what the war on the borders is affecting. It is affecting for India, if I can say, 1.4 billion people are affected by the tariff war initiated in United States, some sort of war affected by China, by sanctioning something or heavy metals, how to deal with and how to protect the 1.4 million. Please show a light on it.
I think the specialist to answer this question is Rangarajan ji, because he's Institute of Foreign Trade.
See, this tariff war, which we always, we said that now the war will not be military war, it is going to be trade wars by which countries may try to conquer, based on what China was earlier trying to grow. And that is one of the reasons why Mr. Trump was always looking for reasons to impose tariff on China, etc. And India is adapting as of now. India is adapting a two-pronged strategy. One is camouflaging with the others, because of which now you find there are a lot of FTAs which we are signing, be it European Union, be it New Zealand, what has been signed, and Australia, ASEAN. There are a lot of things, so that we have the backup. And the second is, we are also trying to take on, like what China has done, when they have been given a tariff of 100%. They went into such a low cost, but still US has started, because US remained as a destination for China for their exports, continued to be in spite of even 100% tariff. It can go only up to a certain extent, let me just tell you, because already in US, the general public is now getting more and more irritated by the inflation which is happening because of this war, and both military as well as tariff war what they have started. So naturally, they may not be able to last long for this. If they last long, then most of our economic theories will also go down.
And see, the crisp answer is you need to be self-sufficient. And on a lighter side, let's assume you are a buyer, or you don't want to buy my goods, and you say I'll buy only at this price, or I'll charge you this, and I don't agree. So I think this is going to happen. But I think the crisp answer is that we need to be self-sufficient to the extent that we all can as a country.
Thank you. So, Mrs. Mehta, yes, sir.
Sir, मेरा कहना ये है कि globally we have so many countries in terms of their territories, big territories, small, mini, small, very big countries. यहाँ पे सर एक international law है, यहाँ पे UNO है. हमारे यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है कि might is right. हम बड़े आदमी हैं तो हम छोटे पे जो चाहें हम कर लें. यूक्रेन वाले ने कहा कि हम नाटो का मेंबर रहेंगे, तो रशिया ने कहा कि नहीं तुम वहां से हट जाओ, नहीं तो हम तुमको ये कर देंगे, मार देंगे. और वो राजी नहीं हुआ तो उसके ऊपर में बम चला दिया. वैसे वेनेजुएला के प्रेसिडेंट को इस तरीके से उठा के लाया गया है with this clip band.
What is your question and who is
my question is here, where is the UNO, where is the international justice, जहाँ पे globally control होता है. इंडिया ने एक तो न्यूक्लियर बम छोड़.
Where is the UNO?
The UN is non-existent. We have to face the reality. There is only one person and one nation. One nation first, but even the nation is okay. But there is one government and one person who imposes 50% tax on India for no fault its own. It kidnaps, as you rightly said, the president of Venezuela and arrests him without any rhyme or reason, who murders Iran's super prophet on his own, murders. This is the only thing I can say. Who captures and kidnaps ships on the sea and takes pride in calling himself a pirate. We don't know how to deal with this world.
Sir,
thank you, sir. So, thank you, because if I finish in the next 3 minutes, I would have...
मोरे सर एक सेकंड. आपने सर सद्दाम हुसैन को पकड़ के इंटरनेशनल कोर्ट ऑफ जस्टिस में फांसी लगा दिया. किंतु आज ट्रंप जो काम कर रहा है वो क्या फांसी के लायक नहीं है? आज ईरान ने क्या बुरा किया था, किंतु ईरान पे जिस तरह अटैक हो गया और उससे अपना वो जो इजराइल, मेरा कहने का मतलब है कि कहीं कोई जस्टिस बचा है या नहीं बचा.
क्वेश्चन का खाली एक ही आंसर देना चाहता हूं मैं. शॉर्टली, यूएन का फंडिंग इज डन बाय यूएस. ठीक है? ओके. सो अगर फंडिंग बंद हो गया यूएन का तो फिर यूएन नहीं हुआ. So UN is non-existent, like what he said. So US controls a whole hegemony. And dhire China on the side,
Sir.
and we are somewhere in between.
Sir, your question. And before you ask your question, if I finish in the next 2.5 minutes, I would have finished exactly on time. So I will need your support to finish on time.
My name is Patodia, and my question is to Admiral, sir. Sir, I have a fear that in this war, is India going to be hit by a collateral damage in the form of Manipur or Northeast? Because all these tankers and all LT mines tankers which have come to Calcutta during election time, I don't think they have come for Calcutta. And my personal view is that are we heading for a collateral damage in the form of Manipur the way it is disturbed?
Sir, Patodia ji, it is addressed to whom? Admiral sir. Okay.
The right person who can answer this is the Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah. But I think your observation is very correct. These armored vehicles which have come here is not just for Bengal. It is going somewhere to the northeast, as per whatever I am aware. Where it is going to be used, maybe Manipur, maybe wherever, but it is not solely for the Bengal elections. You will watch it in the next few days, perhaps.
Mrs. Mehta, please, your question. Bullion, we can hear you. Screen time about children. Okay. Ma'am, what do you think about screen? Her question is, what does the principal think about
The question is that you were talking about tough talk in school. So what about the screen time? So ma'am, this is very simple. There are a lot of parents who come and ask me, ma'am, everybody you tell me that there are good debaters and good quizzers in your school, but my children never read. So how do I get them to read? So I tell them, you read, children will read. You see the phone, children will see the phone. You go for a walk, children will go for a walk. You will watch television the whole day, the children will watch television the whole day. Simple as that, ma'am. Children are a reflection of their parents, and whatever they learn, parents and from the school. So school, thankfully, is a very, very formal setting, and we don't have access to mobile phones. I never carry my mobile phone. Nobody carries their mobile phones to the classroom.
Can we have the last question? Yes, sir.
That's it.
My question is addressed to Sri Devasish sir.
Sir, please, sir,
the
1 second.
topic is,
sir, after you, we'll take one more question and then we'll answer it together. Just to save time, that will be the end. Mr. Shah will ask the last question.
The topic is regarding global conflicts shaping our lives. It's a global calamities or global conflicts. We have seen COVID also. So, cannot we take this global conflict as an opportunity? Like, we have made ourselves self-reliant, and we should rather concentrate on making us self-reliant and self-dependent. So we should not wait regarding on the external factor like global conflict. Whatever might be the conflict outside the world, we take it as a spiritually. Maybe external differences, maybe their external forces may be hampering you. But if you look and you make yourself dependent, you will be all right always.
Thank you.
We agree with you, absolutely. There is no disagreement. We need to be self-reliant, with or without war, with or without external threat. Absolutely well taken. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Shah.
Can I share a good news for everybody for the evening? So a friend of mine just sent me a latest Truth Social post, and I'm sure this will be music to all our ears. I do impossible things like becoming US President 3 times. US President Donald Trump said he often does things that are impossible by speaking at an event on Friday. I do a lot of things that are impossible to do, like becoming president 3 times. Trump has hinted he may run for a 3rd term, despite the US Constitution prohibiting individuals from being elected more than twice.
I'm not surprised
to all of us.
I'm not surprised, Lokesh, because the merchandise is already being produced in China.
Congratulations to all of us.
Tonight we can see clearly that conflict touches every sphere of our lives. While uncertainty creates fear, knowledge creates preparedness. So with that, I would like to thank you for being a very patient and interactive audience, and our panelists for giving us a lovely evening.
फ्रेंड्स, जब भी कोई हमारे पैनलिस्ट या कोई हमारे वैल्यूड गेस्ट आते हैं, वी गिव देम टोकन ऑफ लव. सो मिसेस सपू इज लिविंग राइट नाउ. I would request Tapan to please join here, and I would request District Governor to come up and award this, give this token of love from Lions Club of North Calcutta.
Please come.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam.
एक मिनट. We have Lokesh ji also. He has come down from Hyderabad. जोरदार तालियां.
Yeah.
Well spoken, sir. And I would again request Governor to give the token of love.
Thank you, sir.
अब हमारे बीच हमारे पैनलिस्ट आ चुके हैं. मैं हम सबको उनको टोकन ऑफ लव भी प्रदान करना चाहेंगे. मैं तपन गाड़ोदिया जी से अनुरोध करूंगा कृपया मंच पे आए. पीएसटीज आप लोग यहीं रहें. I would request Mr. Mirza, the tallest persons among this audience, please come on the line. And I would request President to do the honor of giving token of love from the club. So I would now call upon जिसने स्टेज पे एक लहर चढ़ा दी थी, रश्मि जी घोष, आप आइए और हम क्लब की तरफ से टोकन ऑफ लव उन्हें प्रदान करेंगे. रश्मि जी प्लीज रिमेन देयर. हमारी एक क्लब की बुलेटिन है. मैं राजपूत जी से अनुरोध करूंगा कृपया आए और रश्मि जी के हाथों से उस बुलेटिन का उद्घाटन करें. Amongst panelists, Professor Rangarajan. May I request Professor साहब to please, देखिए किसी ने इंग्लिश में कहा, किसी ने बंगला में कहा, बट आपने हिंदी में पूरे लोगों का दिल जीत लिया. भारत माता की. जो हमारे बीच, जैसा कि सही हमारे मॉडरेटर ने कहा, एडमिरल मुखर्जी आर्मी से वही एक आए हैं जिन्होंने सबका दिल मोह लिया. एडमिरल मुखर्जी साहब, प्लीज कम टू द डायस.
Last but not the least, our own club member, our host Lion Tapan Gadodia.